Hi there, I'm Stephen Durkin, Chief Executive Officer of Engineers Australia, a not-for-profit member-based professional association with 105,000 engineers as members in Australia and in fact all over the world. And as the peak body for the engineering profession in Australia, innovation is a central theme in terms of everything that we're about. Every day of the week, in every industry, all over the world, Australian engineers have a critical role in supporting an agenda of innovation and productivity in the many industries that we work in every day of the week. Engineers Australia sees a fundamental transition underway in this country. We see a transition from a resource-based economy to a high-tech, high-value, knowledge-based economy. And we see the role of the engineering profession as being critical in supporting that transformation that's underway in this country. An example of that would be the evolution of the traditional manufacturing sector that's moving from one that's all about nuts and bolts and making things to very much being about thought leadership and very much about advanced engineering and advanced manufacturing. A good example of that in this country would be the activity taking place in terms of the design of advanced composite structures, where you can start to see parts of this nation finding a real niche in terms of how we add value as a nation in supporting what's now part of a really important global economy. So the role of engineering we see as being absolutely critical in supporting this transformation that's underway in some of these industry sectors and as a nation as a whole in terms of this fundamental transformation from a traditional resource-based economy to one that's about knowledge and about delivering very specific value in an economic sense. At the upcoming Automation Innovation Summit, I will be talking on behalf of Engineers Australia about the really critical role that the engineering profession plays in driving value and delivering outcomes in terms of making things happen. And one example that I'll be talking about, which remains a major challenge for us in Australia, is the fact that we are very good as a nation at creating ideas and concepts. So for example, Australia as a nation is amongst the top 10% in the world in terms of scientific papers written. Where we struggle as a nation is in the commercialisation of some of those activities. For instance, we're in the bottom 10% of OECD countries in terms of patents registered. So clearly there is this gap between the way that we think of things and invent scientific concepts to the commercialisation of that. And we see the engineering profession in playing a really critical role in adding that value, making things happen and delivering economic outcomes for this nation as a whole. At the Automation Innovation Summit, I'll be also talking about how at Engineers Australia we see the engineering profession playing a critical role in terms of lifting the capability of the way as a nation that we approach problem solving. One little known fact is that in Australia, of our top 100 companies as measured on the Australian Stock Exchange, 30 of the 100 CEOs have either a science or engineering qualification. So you can see here this very different way of thinking in terms of adding economic value in the businesses that engineers are involved with. So at Engineers Australia, we're very much looking to promote this more modern, contemporary picture of the modern engineer as being very much about thought leadership and adding economic value. So therefore, we're looking to paint as an organisation this picture of the modern engineer being about creativity, teamwork, leadership, and adding value in terms of contribution to innovation and productivity. Our vision is to be the trusted voice of the profession. We aspire to be the global home of the engineering profession and to be recognised as leaders in creating a more sustainable world and a more sustainable future. And I'm looking forward to catching up with everyone at the Automation Innovation Summit to share our story at Engineers Australia about our deep commitment to create a more prosperous Australia and for this transformation underway in this nation that we see the engineering profession as being front and centre in terms of driving an agenda of productivity and innovation. Thank you.